My wife lied about her location while cheating with friends, so I gathered evidence silently and left, taking everything she thought she could steal. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I thought I married my best friend. Her name's Melina. We met at a tech conference 7 years ago. She was this effortlessly charming woman with a messy bun, coffee in hand, talking about cloud infrastructure like it was poetry. I was hooked from the moment she rolled her eyes at a sales pitch and muttered, "What a buzzword salad." I laughed. She looked at me and smiled like we were already in on the same joke. Fast forward a year and we were married. 6 years in now, or were, no kids. Both of us were career-driven, financially stable, still had date nights, still laughed at dumb memes in bed. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Melina was the outgoing one. She had a tight-knit group of girlfriends from college, and every few weeks they'd plan spa weekends, brunches, wine and gossip nights. I never minded. In fact, I encouraged it. I liked that she had her own life, her own independence. It made me proud, honestly. I used to tell people, she's the kind of woman who doesn't need you, but chooses to love you anyway. I used to say that like it was a badge of honor. Like I was lucky to have a wife who didn't cling or nag or need constant attention, that I'd married someone mature, grown. I was so confident in our relationship that I'd literally joke with my friends when their wives gave them trouble. "Should have found yourself a Melina," I'd say. She drinks whiskey and minds her own business, but that same freedom I was bragging about was being used to keep me blind. She was never mine the way I thought she was, and the worst part, I didn't see it until it was already way too late. It started off like any other Friday. She kissed me on the cheek, suitcase in hand, and said she was headed to her friend Lexi's lake house for a girls' weekend. I helped her load the trunk, even handed her a bottle of wine to bring along. She smiled, thanked me, and drove off like everything was normal. That night, I microwaved leftovers, put on a documentary, and scrolled through Instagram. Just out of habit, I clicked on her profile. No stories. Nothing new. A little odd. Melina always posted when she was with her girls. A brunch selfie, a boomerang, clinking glasses, something. I brushed it off. Until the next afternoon when I saw a credit card charge pop up on my phone. A joint account alert. Dinner at Luna Mare, a high-end restaurant not even remotely near Lexi's lake house. I checked the location twice. It was 40 miles in the opposite direction. When she called that evening, her voice was casual. "We're just relaxing, babe. Lots of wine, face masks, girl talk. You'd be bored to death." I asked how the drive was, specifically if they stopped anywhere on the way. There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh yeah, we grabbed dinner at this Italian spot. Real quick. Nothing fancy," I didn't mention the name. Didn't press. But something in her tone, forced, too rehearsed, felt brittle. That night, I stared at the ceiling and told myself I was overthinking. That couples trust each other. That suspicion was poison. But the crack had formed, not a big one. Just a hairline fracture, the kind that starts beneath the surface, quietly, invisibly, and grows louder over time. I didn't know it yet, but this was the moment everything started to unravel. Looking back now, I realize how much I wanted to believe her. Not because her lie was convincing, but because the truth was too painful to admit. I was raised by old-school parents. My dad used to say, "If you're not loyal to your partner, who are you loyal to?" So I carried that into my marriage like a sacred code. Loyalty wasn't just a promise, it was an identity. So when Melina's stories didn't always line up, I didn't question her. I questioned myself. I told myself I was tired, paranoid, insecure. I chalked it up to work stress and the fact that I'd been skipping workouts lately. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was just becoming one of those needy, jealous husbands I swore I'd never be. But then came the weekend she vanished completely. She said she was going to a wellness retreat with Lexi and 2 other girlfriends. I dropped her at the airport myself, even waved her off with a kiss and said, "Have fun, babe." That night, I sent her a goodnight text. It never delivered. I checked again in the morning. Still undelivered, I called. Straight to voicemail, 3 full days went by. Radio silence. My heart didn't stop pounding that entire weekend. I barely ate, barely slept. I refreshed her location more times than I care to admit. It was turned off. She finally called me late Sunday night. "Sorry, babe," she laughed. The place had no signal. Literally zero reception. It was torture. I swallowed the lump in my throat and told her it was okay, that I was just glad she was safe. Then I ordered her favorite takeout for when she got home. Told myself not to ruin the reunion with questions. But deep down, I had already started dying inside, and the worst was still to come. Melina was always careful. Too careful, honestly. She never left receipts in her purse, never posted real-time photos, and she kept her phone face down like it was allergic to light. But the thing about secrets is they leak. And they always leak from the people who know just enough to feel important. It was a casual Sunday when it happened. I was flipping pancakes, and she was getting ready for brunch with her friends. She left her phone charging in the living room. A notification popped up from her friend Nadia, a photo tag on Instagram. I tapped it. The image was of a rooftop bar, string lights, glasses clinking, and right in the middle, Melina, laughing with her head back, wearing the same blue dress she told me she donated weeks ago. The location? Vera Sky Lounge, a trendy rooftop in a city 3 hours from the wellness retreat she claimed she went to. I clicked the comment thread. "Last weekend was wild," someone wrote. My stomach dropped. I quickly screenshot everything. When she came back into the room, I handed her the phone. Calmly. "You said you didn't have service last weekend, but this says otherwise." She looked at the screen, blinked, then said, "Oh, that was an old photo. From months ago. Nadia must have just posted it now." Her smile was tight, too practiced. She deleted the tag before I could reply. That night, I tried to believe her. I wanted to believe her, but the silence between us was loud, deafening. A week later, we hosted a dinner for her friends. I watched them closely. They avoided eye contact, whispered too much, laughed at strange moments. Then, just as I was clearing plates, I heard it. Nadia, in a hushed voice, said to Lexi, "Does he know?" I froze, and that was the night I started keeping notes. I didn't yell. Didn't confront. Didn't accuse. Instead, I started documenting, quietly, methodically. I bought a second phone and labeled it Work Backup. But it wasn't for work. It was for storage. Photos, screenshots, timestamps. I created folders labeled with dates and locations. I needed to stop being emotional and start being undeniable. The next weekend, Melina said she was heading to Lexi's for a quick girls' night. I nodded, smiled, helped her find her favorite boots. Then, once she left, I opened the drawer where she kept her old tote bags, slipped a tiny AirTag deep inside the lining, barely visible. She never noticed. That night, I tracked her in real time. She drove right past Lexi's neighborhood, didn't even slow down. 35 minutes later, she parked at a luxury apartment complex near downtown. Stayed there for 3 hours. Then drove back to Lexi's place and posted a late-night story of wine and charcuterie like she'd been there all along. I took screenshots of the route. Logged the time. Marked it in my calendar. I didn't even let myself get mad. I just wrote it down like it was data. This wasn't just paranoia anymore. It was a pattern. A trail. I started noticing little things. Her perfume changed. She started shaving more often, but only before girls' nights. She wore lingerie I hadn't seen her in, and never wore it for me. One night I asked casually, "Do you still have that navy robe?" She blinked. "Oh, I think I left it at Lexi's, except I found it 2 days later, hidden in her gym bag, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine." I didn't confront her. Not yet, I needed more, because if I was going to burn my marriage down, I wanted the flames to prove who struck the first match. The night I finally followed her in person, it felt like something out of a bad detective movie. I waited until she left for one of her usual overnight trips, told me she was heading to a yoga retreat in the mountains. I smiled, told her to have fun, and watched her drive off. Then I grabbed my coat, locked the door, and followed her from a safe distance. She didn't go to the mountains. She drove straight to that same upscale apartment complex. But this time, she didn't just park and disappear. I saw him, waiting outside. Tall guy, tan coat, coffee in hand like he'd done this 100 times. She got out of the car, grinned, and hugged him like she was coming home. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard I thought it might crack. My phone buzzed. It was her. A text. "Just got to the cabin, love you." Phone service might suck, FYI. I stared at that message, then at her silhouette as she disappeared inside with him. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt cold, like my chest was hollowing out from the inside. Later that night, I went through her old iPad, one she'd long forgotten was still synced to our cloud. And there it was, DMs not even hidden, just lazy and arrogant. Messages like, "Can't stop thinking about last time. I still smell like you. My idiot husband actually packed my suitcase for this weekend, LOL. I wish I could fall asleep next to you every night instead." I stared at the screen for over an hour. My face was numb. It wasn't just sex. She had emotionally left me months ago. I was just too busy trusting her to notice, and now I was wide awake. The betrayal was already eating me alive, but the next discovery nearly pushed me over the edge. It was a Thursday afternoon. I got a text alert from our joint bank account. $5,000 transfer completed. That alone wasn't too strange. Melina managed our savings sometimes. But the account it was sent to? I didn't recognize it. It was under her name only. I logged in to check the history. My jaw clenched. She'd been slowly siphoning money. 1,000 here, 2,000 there, for almost 5 months. Always on days surrounding her girl trips. Small enough amounts to fly under radar, but it added up. Almost $17,000 gone. My first instinct was confusion. Why? Why not just cheat and be done with it? Why also gut our finances? Then I opened her laptop, and I saw her browser history. Real estate listings, studio apartments, articles titled, "How to Financially Prepare for Divorce." Even a Google Doc titled, "Exit Plan." I clicked it with shaking hands. There were notes, bullets, timelines. Get money out before he notices. Find lawyer discreetly. Ask Lexi for referral. Sell the house after move out. Avoid joint asset mess. She was planning to leave. Not just cheat. Leave me, and she wanted to take the money, the house, everything, before I could do anything about it. The rage I felt in that moment wasn't explosive. It was quiet, focused, like a switch flipped. She thought she was playing chess. But she forgot I was a quiet man, when not a stupid one. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started building my own plan. From that day on, I became two people. To her, I was still the clueless, doting husband. Still making coffee in the mornings, still asking how her weekends were, still saying "I love you" before bed. I kissed her forehead with the same lips that knew she was planning to rob me blind. It was the greatest performance of my life. Behind the scenes, I got to work. First, I called an attorney. Not just any lawyer, but a forensic divorce attorney who specialized in infidelity and financial deceit. She was blunt but kind. "You're already behind," she said. "But it's not too late to flip the board." Next, I opened a new solo bank account and moved my direct deposit. Changed my beneficiaries, froze our joint credit cards, claiming I'd lost them. I rerouted my mail to a P.O. box and pulled all important documents, marriage certificate, tax returns, property deeds, into a locked drawer she never checked. I even backed up the home Wi-Fi camera she forgot I installed in the hallway. One night while she thought I was asleep, she took a call outside the bedroom. The mic picked it up, her whispering, "No, he has no clue. He still thinks I'm just busy with work." I clipped the footage and saved it. I created a digital folder, encrypted, time-stamped, and backed up in 3 places. Evidence. Every message. Every transaction. Every breadcrumb she dropped in her arrogance. Then, I rented a storage unit across town. Every day while she was at Pilates, I packed a few more boxes, childhood keepsakes, my tools, my tech, my essentials. She didn't notice anything missing. I kept the house looking untouched. She thought she was quietly preparing her escape. She had no idea. I was preparing mine. The timing couldn't have been better. Melina told me she was planning one last girls' weekend before things got too busy at work. Said they were renting a cabin for 2 nights, total digital detox. No phones, no distractions. I smiled, acted supportive, even offered to pack her favorite snacks. She kissed me on the cheek and called me the best husband ever. That morning, I loaded her suitcase into the trunk. Watched her drive off like it was just another regular Friday. The second her taillights disappeared, I locked the front door, turned off my phone, and started the clock. I had 48 hours. I'd already secured a furnished apartment across town in my name, month-to-month lease, prepaid. The keys were in my pocket. The storage unit was full. My personal documents were safe. Now it was time for the house. I moved like a machine. Packed what was left. Kitchenware, clothes, hard drives, everything that was mine and only mine. I made sure to leave anything she brought into the marriage, even the throw pillows she adored. I wasn't stealing. I was reclaiming. By nightfall, the house was silent, hollow, empty. I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the space where our couch used to be. The same place where we binge-watched shows, where she sat texting him while leaning against my shoulder. Before I left, I placed a single manila envelope on the dining table, right next to the vase she kept filled with fake peonies. Inside, printed bank statements, screenshots, photographs, and the signed divorce papers. On top of the envelope, I wrote 4 words in block letters: checkmate, do not call. Then I walked out of the house we shared, and into the life she never saw coming. I didn't plan on seeing it. I'd told myself I had enough: the evidence, the financial prep, the escape plan. But that Friday night, something in me cracked, not rage, not jealousy, just something raw and ugly that needed the truth, in real time. So I tracked her AirTag again. She hadn't gone to a cabin. She hadn't even left the city. Her location pinged from the same downtown apartment complex I'd marked weeks ago. I drove there and parked across the street. Stayed inside my car, engine off, lights dimmed, and then I saw them. They came out together, her and him. She was wearing the navy wrap dress I hadn't seen in months, the one I bought her for our anniversary. He had his hand on her lower back like it belonged there. She laughed, full, carefree, the kind of laugh she hadn't used around me in a long time. They walked to a rooftop lounge nearby. I followed on foot, kept distance. My heart pounded like it was trying to outrun my ribs. Through the glass railing, I saw her lean in and kiss him. Not a shy kiss, a comfortable one, familiar. She rested her head on his shoulder like it was their routine, and I just stood there, watching my entire marriage play out like a show I wasn't invited to. My fists were clenched in my coat pockets. But I didn't move, didn't storm in, didn't scream, because this was my closure. I watched long enough to feel the numbness harden into clarity. Then I turned around and walked away, not because I was defeated, but because I knew something she didn't. By the time she got home, I'd already left. She got back Sunday evening, just after 7. I knew because I watched it on the security cam I forgot to uninstall. Or maybe I didn't forget. Maybe I wanted to see her face when she opened the front door and realized I was gone. Completely gone. The living room was empty. No couch, no TV, no framed photos of our fake smiles. The kitchen, bare. Closets, cleaned out. My office, just a chair and a desk. And on the dining table, the envelope. That manila envelope with everything inside. She stood frozen in the hallway. Tilted her head, confused. Then she saw it. I watched her on the footage lean over and read the words: checkmate, do not call. She opened the envelope and flipped through the documents. Slowly at first, then frantically. She looked around like she was expecting to find me behind a door, waiting to confront her, but I was already gone. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She called me once, blocked, called again. Straight to voicemail. She tried emailing. I sent back a one-liner. Everything you need is in that envelope. I wish you peace, that was it. No screaming match. No public blow-up. No dramatic exit. Just silence. The kind that screams louder than any fight ever could. She was left standing in a house that once held a future, and now held only her own reflection. And I was watching it all from my new apartment across town. The silence didn't last long. By Monday morning, my phone, the new one, not the number she had, was blowing up with messages from mutual friends, her cousins, even her mother. Most of them followed the same script. Hey, I don't want to get involved, but Melina's really upset. What happened? She's saying you just left out of nowhere, that you're having some kind of breakdown. I ignored the first few. Then I forwarded them all a single zip file, the same evidence folder I'd built over months. No explanations. No captions. Just the truth. The silence that followed was beautiful. Her friends stopped calling. One of them, Nadia, actually messaged me and apologized. Said she wanted to tell me but didn't know how. I didn't reply. They were complicit. Silence is loyalty too. Her mom sent me a long paragraph trying to guilt trip me. Marriage isn't perfect, but real men don't walk away. They fight. I forwarded her the photo of Melina and her affair partner kissing. No response. A few days later, Melina tried showing up at my job. Security turned her away. She texted me, "So this is how 6 years ends? No conversation? No second chance?" I didn't answer. I didn't owe her closure. She made her choices. She just never expected consequences. A week later, she made a Facebook post, some sad, cryptic nonsense about being betrayed by the one you trust most. Her comments were turned off, but the thing about liars is, they always tell half the story, and I wasn't about to waste energy telling the rest. Let her live in the echo chamber of her own lies. I was already living in peace, Melina. Thought she was the only one playing chess. What she didn't know is that I had flipped the board, weeks before she even made her first move. We live in a state that recognizes at fault, divorce, and because I had documented proof of infidelity and financial misconduct, my attorney told me we could go on the offensive. Turns out, that little exit plan Google Doc she wrote? Yeah, that became Exhibit A in our case. She'd been planning to take the house, the savings, even try to argue for alimony since I made slightly more than her. But with my evidence, not only was alimony completely off the table, she actually owed me restitution for what she siphoned from our joint account. That $17,000 she tried to sneak away with, she had to pay every cent back, plus penalties even better. The house was under my name. She had never been added to the deed, something I didn't even remember until my lawyer smiled and said, "Looks like she was trying to sell something she doesn't own." And the man she was cheating with? Gone. From what I heard, he bailed the moment she lost the financial comfort she promised him. Classic parasite move, stick around for the spoils, vanish when it's time to clean up the mess. Melina was left with a cheap apartment, a repoed car she had co-signed with him, and no savings. I didn't have to ruin her life. She did that all on her own. All I did was stop carrying the dead weight while she was dragging me down. And for once, finally, I walked away with both my dignity and my future intact. It's funny. I used to get teased for how much I trusted her. Friends would roll their eyes when I'd pack her suitcase for girls' trips. "You're too nice, man," they'd say. "She's got you wrapped around her finger." And maybe they were right. Back then, I was the guy who believed in love over logic. Who thought loyalty was enough to hold a marriage together? Who believed that if you gave your all, your partner would meet you halfway? But that's not how it works. Not with someone who treats your kindness like a loophole. Melina didn't just lie to me. She used the best parts of me against me. My patience, my trust, my consistency. She weaponized it, and in the end, she never saw it coming when I finally stopped playing dumb. The same people who once called me too soft now call me stone cold. They say they never expected me to go silent, to move like a ghost, to hit her with facts instead of feelings, but the truth is, I wasn't acting out of revenge. I was acting out of respect for myself. She played dirty. I just played smarter. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't even warn her. I simply collected the truth, packaged it neatly, and walked away with everything she thought she could steal. Turns out, being too nice doesn't mean you're weak. It just means people never see you coming when you finally say enough, and by the time they realize it, you're already gone. There was no victory parade, no dramatic movie moment, just silence, and for the first time in years, that silence felt like peace. I moved into my new place, a small but clean apartment on the 5th floor, with big windows and no trace of her perfume in the walls. I didn't buy a new couch right away. I liked the emptiness. It reminded me that I'd finally cleared space in my life, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I started sleeping better, waking up without a knot in my chest. I didn't have to second-guess every late-night text on her phone or wonder if spa day meant someone else's bed. I could just exist. I joined a local hiking club, started reading again, picked up my camera after years of letting it collect dust. One Saturday, I stood at the edge of a cliff trail as the sun rose, camera in one hand, coffee in the other, and realized I hadn't thought about her for hours. That felt like winning. I wasn't bitter. I didn't stalk her socials. I didn't track whether she landed on her feet or not, because the truth is, I didn't care anymore. Her journey wasn't my concern. My peace didn't depend on her apology. She betrayed me, but I survived it. And more than that, I grew from it. People always ask what I would have done differently. Honestly, nothing. Because every lie she told, every fake smile, every secret, it taught me how to hear my gut again. How to choose myself, and now, I wake up every morning in a space that's completely mine. And the silence, it still feels like freedom. Sometimes I think back to the man I was, the one packing her suitcase while she was texting another man in secret. The guy who smiled through lies because he was too in love to see the knife being slowly twisted into his back. But I don't pity that version of me. He needed to be broken to wake up. Because now, I understand something I didn't back then. You don't have to destroy someone to win. You just have to stop letting them take from you. Melina thought she could cheat, steal, and gaslight her way into a new life, that I'd crumble quietly in the corner while she walked away clean. But I didn't explode. I didn't make a scene. I didn't even raise my voice. I just paid attention. I gathered the truth like bricks. And when the time came, I built a door and walked out without looking back. She didn't see it coming because people like her never expect consequences from someone they think is too soft. I left her with exactly what she gave me. Nothing. Silence. Space. But I also left with everything she thought she'd get to keep. The house. The savings, my peace of mind. And to anyone listening, wondering if you're crazy for feeling that gut twist, that whisper that something's not right, let me say this. You're not crazy. You're being lied to. So don't scream. Don't beg. Don't mourn, just get quiet. And move, because walking away without a word, that was the loudest thing I ever did. And when I left, I didn't just walk out of a marriage, I took back me.